So welcome to the next level certifications. My name is Maren Mahoney. I'm an instructor here at Sunset Learning. I hold a CCIE among other things. And so this has been a very, very interesting process to learn about for me because how one recertifies in particular, if you already have certifications, is changing a good bit and in some really good ways. So what we're going to talk about today is what's the current situation, and then why is Cisco changing? When I first heard about this, and I'll tell you what, I will just give you a heads up. When you start looking at this stuff, your eyes are going to cross and you're think, what the heck were they thinking? And yet, once you understand what they're doing, I actually really think it's a great idea, and I think it's good for all of us as engineers, this new certification system, because it gives us the opportunity to demonstrate and be certified in granular ways rather than having to get an entire whole track done before we get anything. So then we'll talk a little bit about what, we'll talk about why, and then I'm going to talk about this thing called continuing education, which is one of your ways to recertify. So as I was putting materials together for this presentation, there was a comment on one of the other presentations that I ran across. It was, is there a new certification badge for understanding the new certifications, which I thought was a hoot. And yes, I quite liked that, because you're going to think the same thing here shortly. Okay, so our current certification set, it's been around a long time. Businesses understand it, people understand it. There is, a industry foundation in these current certifications. One of the cool things too with the current certification set is there are 10 total certification tracks. I'm going to, show you. Actually, let me just show you that there's 10 different things you can get certified in. The downside of this is that there are 10 different things you can get certified in. As Cisco has moved into new technology areas and provided certifications in these new technology areas, it is starting to actually get more confusing than less. Another downside, as I mentioned earlier, is it's a fixed set of knowledge. And as an example, I'm in the process of recerting. I had let my CCNP route switch lapse, so I'm like in the process of getting that recerted. Right now, I get 0 until I complete all 3 of those exams. Under the new system, that's not true, and this is an awesome thing. But the part of the problem of what we have right now is that there's a fixed set of knowledge, and you have to have all of it before you get anything. And that, for those of us who have, a certain area of expertise, that's not necessarily useful to us. Each level has a different number of exams, different levels, different tracks. With the CCNP data center, there's even like, oh, take one of these 2 exams kind of thing, and it ends up really being confusing and makes it less reliable than it could. Now, that said, if you are on track to certify now, continue doing that. With very, very few exceptions, anything you have right now, and any certification you currently hold will be transitioned into the new system, period, full stop. Cisco is very specific about that. If you are in progress on some of these certifications, if you have passed route and switch, for instance, but not yet T-shoot, go ahead and go try to get that T-shoot before February 23rd, 2020. But if you don't, that's still okay, because you get something out of it. Even if you just start a new certification track, it's like there's things you can do. Okay, let's take a look at what's new. Instead of 10 certifications disciplines, there are now 5. And there's also, Cisco is adding a new DevNet discipline, and I want to talk about this for just a second. I have been saying to my students for years, it is absolutely vital that you learn some programming. My area of expertise is actually in collaboration. And 10 years ago, when I was talking to traditional telephony guys who'd worked on the big phone switches, you need to learn voice over IP enough so that you can do voice over IP, period. And otherwise, you'll be out of a job. And that turned out to be true. Telephony engineers that don't have basic understanding of route switch, I don't have jobs anymore. They don't. And I am telling you, what I see on the horizon is automation in all areas of Cisco's technologies. Route switch, being able to program routers and switches via APIs. Certainly cloud already and data center have automation pieces. Even collaboration, there are automation pieces surrounding all of these. For collaboration, it'll be writing APIs that you can hook into the Cisco collaboration applications as an example. You're going to have to learn some programming. For those of you like me who are over 50, right, we could probably get away without it before we retire. But if you are, under 50 years old, you need to learn some programming or you're not going to have a job in 5 or 10 years. And I say that with all due respect to people who don't like programming, but you're going to have to learn some. So enough of that. There is still a CCNA. There is still a CCNA specialization, sort of. There's still CCNP and there's still CCIE. In the new system, they mean slightly different things. I'm going to show you some pictures here real quick. I'm going to get away from the text here real fast. But the thing I really like about this new system, as I mentioned, is it recognizes any exam you pass. If you pass one thing, you get recognized for it. You can you get a specialization for any exam you pass. And if you go through the process of completing a training, whether that's an online training course on Cisco's website, whether that's an ILT course through a provider like us here at Sunset Learning, you can also earn a badge for that. Now, obviously, the badge has less weight than a specialization, which means you've passed the exam. But it gives you the opportunity to say, yes, I've at least taken this training. I haven't passed the exam yet, but I have this badge. I finished this training. Hey, boss, right? And again, I'm going to talk about at the end the continuing education as part of recertification path, which has been available to CCIEs for several years as they were testing out that program. With the new certification system, Cisco is rolling that out to all levels of certifications. Okay, ready for the big ugly picture? Oh, that's not it yet. Sorry, one short one. So there's still associate, specialist, professional, and expert levels. Now, the thing I want to say is that notice, oh, I didn't bring up my pen. Pardon me just a moment, I need to bring up my pen because I neglected to do that. There we go. I like to be able to draw on my pictures. All right, notice that this guy right here, right, does not say CCNA specialist. Currently, you have CCNA and it might be route switch, it might be something, but then you have, there's CCNA collab and there's CCNA data center and there's CCNA base, and those are considered CCNA specializations. That is not the way this works anymore. There is a CCNA, I'm going to show you that exam here in just a second. This means now a whole other thing. So hold on to that thought and we will talk about that some more. There we go. Okay. Here's the big ugly picture. So in the new system, there is, let me make that a little narrower. There is still a CCNA. Notice that there is one of them, exactly one. This is going to be a multidiscipline CCNA exam. It will encompass route switch, but also touch on wireless. Prerequisites for collab, so DHCP pools and PoE. It'll have a little bit of data center related architectures in there. There's one CCNA. There's one exam for it. So rather than having like the CCENT and then the CCNA, there's now just one exam, one 5-day class with a 3-day online, recommended prereq kind of thing. But they're simplifying that. They're consolidating it. It used to be back in the day, back when I started 8 bajillion years ago, CCNA was a CCNA was a CCNA. I knew how to deal with routers and switches and routing protocols and a little bit of this, a little bit of that. That is how the CCNA is being reimagined. And I like that. It means that if you have that, you have a foundation, you can walk into any enterprise and at least understand what's going on. You might not be an expert in wireless, but you have some understanding about what's going on. The specialist level, I'm going to skip over for just a second. Let me move over to the professional level. CCNP. Depending on which discipline you had that took a different number of exams, in the new CCNP structure, it takes you exactly 2. one of which is the Technology Core Exam. And that Technology Core Exam, as I mentioned, there are 5 different disciplines plus the DevNet. This is going to be a very difficult exam to pass. It is a broad-based and very deep in the entire breadth of whatever that particular technology is. That Technology Core Exam, as an example, is now the written exam for the CCIE. So if you want to have a CCNP, you're going to need to have CCIE level written, not lab, but written knowledge. So that's number 1. The second exam you have to pass for the CCNP is one of these concentration exams. And there are different exams in each of the disciplines, and they cover all sorts of different things. The CCNP for route switch, for wireless, and for design are all collapsed into enterprise, and there are individual concentration exams in each of those disciplines, just as an example. So getting the CCNP is going to mean a lot more than it used to. Not that it means nothing now. Gosh knows you have to know a lot of stuff to pass all the exams for a single CCNP. But the Technology Core Exam is going to demonstrate that you have significant knowledge in all areas of that discipline. And then the concentration exam is more in depth on a particular technology or a particular product. So you have CCNA, you have CCNP. What about this specialist level? Well, gosh, I have a CCNA, maybe I don't, but maybe, I work, again, my specializations in collaboration. I work on Cisco Meeting Server and Cisco Meeting Manager and VCS, and I know all of this video stuff. I've been working with it for years. I'm really good at it. You know what? In the collaboration track, there's an exam on that very topic, video in a collaboration environment. Now, you may or may not have the CCNA. You may or may not want the CCNA. But if you can go in and pass this one exam, you are a Cisco certified specialist in that area. Every time you pass another one of these concentration exams in any discipline, you get a specialist certification for that. So you may have one of these, you may have crap tons. But it allows you to demonstrate, and Cisco is certifying you as having demonstrated expertise in a particular area. So there are no prerequisites. You do not have to have a CCNA, you don't have to have that CCNP Technology Core Exam done. You're just passing an exam and you've got that specialist, and you can put that on a resume, you can put that on a CV. So there's the associate level exam, specialist, which is passing any of these concentration exams, and then there's the professional level. For the CCIE, that is remaining pretty much as is. As I mentioned, you still do have to have the written, and you still have to have the lab, the written being the Technology Core Exam, and then the lab is obviously the lab. You do not have to have a CCNA to get a specialist. You don't have to have a CCNA or a specialist to get a CCNP. You do not have to have a CCNP to get a CCIE. Remember that this CCNP requires a technology and a concentration. If I just pass that Technology Core Exam and then go take the lab, I'm done. So no prereqs. Now, I do want to talk for just a second about this whole new DevNet certification area. As I mentioned, oops, sorry about that. Cisco is betting heavily on automation and programming, and I absolutely agree. There is a separate DevNet Associate exam that is equivalent to the CCNA for engineering. They consider this, by the way, engineering, and they consider this development. So just sort of separate those. With DevNet, there are a bunch of concentration core exams, and notice these purple ones here. Automation in one of these areas is part of the DevNet core, but that is also a concentration exam for this. So if you have the DevNet collaboration exam that talks about hooking APIs into WebEx Teams and Call Manager and et cetera, that's a DevNet specialization, but it also counts if you want to go take that enterprise core for collaboration, where you've got a CCNP collab as well. So you have some overlap there, which is awesome. As of right now, there is no CCIE DevNet, but Cisco is working on that. They're trying to figure out how to do that. I don't know if any of you here that are listening have a CCDE, the Cisco Certified Design Expert. Notice that is not represented on this big picture. That is remaining the same as of right now. The CCNP design, or CCDP, right, as I mentioned, is getting rolled into the CCNP Enterprise and new core new curriculum, but the expert, the CCDE, is staying as is for right now. That may change in the future, but that's the last word I heard from Cisco. Any quick questions before we start? Allie, do you have anything in chat, or is anybody got any quick questions? I'm going to go into more detail about some of these. If there's anything that I've you're like, oh damn, I wish. Oh darn, sorry. Oh darn, sorry.
No, I actually was. Thank you for that. If you are unable to mute, you're welcome to unmute and ask questions. But if you are unable to, feel free to just shoot the question to me, and we can ask it at the end. But I don't have anything yet, Marin. Thank you.
Okay. All right. And so we continue. So the CCNA Engineering. Let's talk about each one of these levels and each one of these certs one by one. There is just one exam. It's a new 200, 300. It's multidiscipline. Cisco is intending it as a foundation to have you, again, demonstrate a breadth of knowledge. Not necessarily deep, but you understand all the big pieces fit together. And as a foundation to launch you into any discipline. There is one exam. There is one 5-day course that is, you can take instructor-led training there. Cisco also has an e-learning on their website. There's also a 3-day sort of basics course, e-learning website. Most of the training providers I've been talking to are planning on having a boot camp, which will have all 8 days sort of packaged. That's a little tougher because Cisco is being a lot more specific about what you're allowed to present. So bear with us on that one. All new certifications are valid for 3 years. And you can recertify by retaking this exam, by taking a specialization exam, or by continuing education. Again, we'll talk about the continuing education a little bit later on. The CCNA Developer, the CCNA DevNet, again, just one exam. And sort of the four broad topics: understanding and using APIs, Cisco platforms and development, application development and security, infrastructure and automation. There are no courses announced yet for this exam. Cisco has not put them out yet. What Cisco's been telling us is that they were hoping to have at least the first of the certification courses started to be available like this week. And yeah, it looks like it's mid-July at the earliest. I've said the date, February 24th, 2020 already. That is sort of the line. There's the old certification system and the new certification system, and that's the date. Certainly. And that's when you can start taking the new exams and the old exams retire. That doesn't mean you can't take courses before or after. Cisco has to roll them out. We have not been given, none of the training partners really have been given much of a plan on how that's going to work yet. But one thing at a time. The Cisco Certified Specialist, as I mentioned, you pass any one CCNP level concentration exam, and that can be out of the engineering track or one of the specialization exams, concentration exams out of DevNet. There are no prerequisites. As I mentioned, it's separate from the CCNA. You don't have to have one if you don't want to, but you're going to end up with a lot of these. I was, and I'm going to show you a certification migration tool here in just a second. And I was looking through like all the various exams I've passed over the years. I'm going to have a lot of these specialization exams. But as I mentioned, it allows you recognition of certain level of knowledge or expertise in particular topic. Here's the nice part about this. As new technologies come online, and a good example is the whole automation thing. Now Cisco's putting out a whole new track for DevNet. But what if they didn't? What if they just wanted to have a particular automation tool available and they weren't going to do a whole certification track on that? Well, gee, what do you know? They can put out a specialization exam for that, and you can demonstrate and be certified in expertise in that one thing. Without, and something new comes along in a month, and we can have a certification for that. It gives Cisco a lot more flexibility rather than waiting for like the next round of certifications and which 3 do I have to pass for the certified. As each new thing comes online, they can have a cert for it. Now, before I continue on, I want to talk a couple of things. I want to show you the, before I move on to the CCNP stuff, I want to show you the exam topics for the CCNA. And I would like to show you the exam topics for the DevNet. And I also want to show you the, I'll show you the migration in a sec, but let's start with those two things. So I'm on Cisco's website. And I should mention, if you go to cisco.com / next level, right, that will take you to the main landing page for the whole new certification track, and anything you want to know, all in there, including getting to things like this. So for the exam topics, and I just want to show you this to show you sort of the breadth of information. It is still mostly route switch, but it's new at the same time. So network fundamentals, right? Layer 2, layer 3, a little bit of access point stuff there, a little bit of IPv6. If you've taken the CCNA, like, oh, okay, that all looks pretty normal. Network access, we're now going to talk about some of the things you're going to need for wireless infrastructure, for instance. Under, what was it, security fundamentals, you're going to have to know a certain amount about security. And then a little bit about programming. Just to have a CCNA, you're going to have to learn some programming. Interpret JSON encoded data. Describe REST-based APIs. You're going to have to know some programming to get the CCNA. But with this, you can start down any of the tracks, and again, you know how everything fits together. For the CCNA DevNet, that's this exam right here. And again, just as an example of the topics list, software development, understanding APIs. Now, I'm not a programmer. A lot of this, it's like I know these words, but I couldn't tell you what they actually mean, so I'm probably going to go back and learn all this stuff myself. But if you go and look at this URL, that you can get more information on that. I know I'm kind of cruising past this. I don't know who's interested in what specific pieces, but the Cisco website, of course, has a lot of information on all of this. So let's talk a little bit about CCNP. 6 disciplines instead of 10, with DevNet being a brand new one. So the 10 that are existing have been collapsed into 5. Route switch, wireless, and design have all been combined into CCNP Enterprise. There's CCNP Data Center, CCNP Service Provider. With the Data Center, that also includes CCNA Cloud, collaboration and security. For those of you, by the way, like, if you hold a CCNP security, largely the information in the current security CCNP security track is going to be covered in the new CCNP security track. Why? Because you're still talking about firewalls, you're still talking about identity devices. So it's not like, oh, suddenly all of my knowledge is obsolete. No. Rearranged? Yes. Obsolete? Absolutely not. So that's just, the quick list. Let's take a look at one. What's it going to take? Here is the map for the CCNP Enterprise. Again, you have the CCNP for technology exam, and then one of any of these 6 exams here, including the DevNet. As I mentioned, to get a specialist, you only need to do one of these exams. You don't necessarily have to do the core if you don't want to. So 2. Again, as I mentioned, CCNP in that discipline acts as the CCIE written in that discipline, your CCNP core exam and your lab would have to be in the same discipline for you to be granted a CCIE. Cisco is very committed to seeing to it that any certifications you currently hold are going to be granted some kind of an equivalency in the new system. If you have a CCNP wireless, you have a CCNP enterprise. If you have a CCNP route switch, you have a CCNP enterprise. If you have a CCNP collab, you get a CCNP collab. Same thing with CCNA. If you have any of the 10 CCNA certifications, industrial, cloud, collaboration, route switch, wireless security, et cetera, et cetera. If you have any of the 10 CCNA current certifications, you have a CCNA. Cisco wants to make sure that people are not, that you don't lose out because they're changing their stuff. Now, when it comes time to recert, and you're going to recert via an exam, that's going to be a little harder than it used to be because you are going to have to know more things, perhaps, but anything you currently have is going to be grandfathered in some way, or transition is actually the way they're talking about it. So just as example of a CCNP topic here. For the CCIE, there are actually 6 disciplines. There is the security, collaboration, data center. What's the 4th one? Anyway, basically there are, instead of CCIE Enterprise, there's going to be CCIE Enterprise Infrastructure and CCIE Enterprise Wireless. It's just 2 different labs. It's the same CCNP core exam for the CCIE written, 2 different labs if you're going to be doing that. Certification, if any of you are sitting in the audience or CCIEs, your certification is now going to be good for 3 years instead of 2. Yay! And anybody who is a CCIE for 20 contiguous years, that is now permanent. You no longer have to recertify at all. We have one of our instructors, Kwan, who worked for Sunset Learning. He was like, oh, good, I don't have to give any more donations to Cisco, right, for paying for those exams. Because he's had it for 20 years, and he's done. The CCDE, as I mentioned, is not changing yet, may not at all, may go away in its entirety. Cisco does not know what they're going to do about that yet. What I'm about to show you now are in one by one, and I'm going to go through them fairly quickly. All of this information is available on that cisco.com /next level. And a quick examination of the enterprise track. The associate is an associate in all disciplines, but as I mentioned, you don't have to have a CCNA in order to do the CCNP. You've got to do your enterprise core and then one of the concentration exams. And so we can see things. Here's wireless, right? Designing wireless, designing enterprise networks. This is what, by the way, if you have the CCDP, it gives you the CCNP with this specialization. Here's the automation. Implementing wireless networks, and then this basically would be the standard CCNP route switch. So each discipline in more depth, but different things that you can specialize in. CCNP security, again, start with your CCNA. And here we have the different specializations. And just as a reminder, any one of these gives you that Cisco's certified specialist in that particular area. I'll give you a minute to look over that if anybody is a security person here. Automating. Was there a question, Allie? I thought that I saw an orange flash on the chat.
Yeah, Maren, we actually have a few questions.
Okay.
If this is a good time while people are sort of looking at the screen like you suggested.
Okay.
So if I may, the first question is a really good one. Currently, you can take and pass a CCIE written exam to recert your CCNP. Is that still in effect? And
Yes.
once you recert by doing that, you can then recert by CEUs?
You can, there are a number of different ways to recertify a CCIE. Retaking the CCNP technology core exam in your discipline is repassing that CCIE written. That's that equivalency right there. But yes.
And if I may, is that they had a follow-up to that question. Currently, if I pass any CCIE written exam, it recerts all of my CCNP certs. Is that correct?
If you recertify a CCIE, it recerts everything you have, yes. You know what, I will have a Q&A associated with this webinar afterwards. I remember them asking about that, and I thought I heard Cisco say yes, because Cisco did a thing on this last week. I thought I heard Cisco say yes. So I'm 99% sure of that, but I'm not working for Cisco, I don't want to promise. But that's what I understand, yes.
Okay, thanks, Maren.
So anyway, so to finish answering that question, so yes.
Yes.
You can recert using a CCNP technology core written that will recert that CCIE and all of your lower levels. You can also recertify using continuing education. And whatever your highest level cert is, recerting that level will recert all of your downstreams as well.
Fantastic, thank you. And thank you for your question. I have a few more, if I may.
Very quickly, if any of them have to do with recertifying, let's hold off on those.
Okay.
What else you got?
Let's see. A little bit from the beginning.
Okay.
Is the CCENT cert going away?
Yes, effectively yes.
Okay, yep, I know you answered that. Will ICND1 and ICND2 still count for the core CCNA?
If you currently hold a CCNA having passed either the ICND1 and ICND2 exams or the CCNA combined exam, if you currently hold a CCNA certification of any kind, whether it's route switch or data center or whatever, you are a CCNA in the new system, period. Does that answer that question? Hopefully.
I think so, thanks.
Okay. Anything else that's not recert related?
A question about when the old exams are going away. So are old exams definitely done in February 2020?
February 23rd, period. Last day to test on any of the current certification exams, February 23rd, 2020, period.
All right, thank you. I like
that's
it.
That's a definitive answer. And
yes.
the new certifications are supposed to come online on the 24th. What else? She's reading through them.
Yes, I am. I'm getting a few more. Unless we can break those up if you want to continue.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, let's see.
We'll definitely get everybody's questions answered.
Absolutely. I've got a Q&A slide on the end, and we will answer everything one at a time. Yep.
Thanks, Maren.
So again, CCNP Enterprise, CCNP Security. I will post a link to the Cisco presentation from Cisco Live in the chat that has all of this information. These particular slides I actually got from their presentation. Just the FYI, I didn't make this up. This is Cisco stuff here. Service provider, there's only 3 concentrations in that, but that technology core, again, is going to be fairly comprehensive. The collaboration. Yeah. I'm looking at these. I'm like, I'm going to obviously have to teach all of these. I'm like, wow, I assume I know all of this stuff. Let's see. And then data center and the DevNet. The DevNet, this is a new thing. And I made a comment here in the corner, programming is the new black. It's like, yeah, programming is where it's at. I can't not emphasize enough. You need to learn some programming, some automation tools. It's absolutely essential going forward if you want a career in this stuff. Lots of certifications in that area. So some things to think about. These are not new cert tracks. This is a redesign how certifications work. What I understand is the person that took over learning at Cisco used to work for Salesforce. And this is how Salesforce does their certification. They're, forgive the word, for all the technologists out there, I'm about to use the word paradigm in a sentence, and I apologize ahead of time. It's that paradigm where you are demonstrating expertise in a particular area. The whole redesign of the way Cisco is thinking about certifications. So it's not new cert tracks. However, the vast majority of the data is going to be still the same. With new stuff, like in collaboration, for those of you who know it, Cisco Meeting Server and Cisco Meeting Manager and VCS and all that stuff, it's all new, not in the current cert track, but what do you know it's going to be in the new one? More granular, and allows Cisco to provide new certifications again, as they develop. I think I already talked about that. Oh, and here's the other thing too. This allows you to have certification in multiple disciplines. I know a good chunk about route switch, but I have not passed all 3 of those exams for February. But if I can go and pass one of them, I have that area of expertise. I am not a full-out expert in wireless, but I know a chunk about how the WLCs work. If I take one of those specialization exams, I can demonstrate some expertise in wireless, even though my primary area is collaboration. I know both of these things. For folks that are trying to, people get certifications for, for self-fulfillment, a little bit bragging rights maybe, because their job requires it, or because they're looking for a new job, or they're trying to get themselves qualified for a new job. This will allow you to demonstrate expertise in as many areas as you have expertise, which I like. Cisco is very committed to transitioning. I'm going to go show you the transition tool, transitioning new certifications, and any progress. Any exam, any cert you have will transition mostly. There are a couple of exceptions to that. Let's have a demo of that transition tool. So the one I have pulled up is actually for the CCNP. Let me actually back up one. So this is the page for the CCNP Enterprise. This is the new one. One of the areas on this page is the migration tool. And there are migration tools. If you are currently progressing toward the CCNP wireless, you're certainly currently progressing toward the CCDP, you're currently progressing toward the CCNP route switch. This is how you can know what you currently have, how it maps to the new thing. So, CCNP. CCNP route switch currently has 3 exams. It's T-shoot, route switch, and route and switch. And if I pass all 3 of these, I have the CCNP Enterprise Core, and I have the CCNP Advanced Infrastructure Implementation, which makes me a CCNP Enterprise. Well, what if I've passed route and switch, but I have not passed T-shoot? Well, that will get me the Enterprise Core, but not the full CCNP Enterprise. This passes that core technology exam. In order to have a CCNP Enterprise, then it's telling me that I would have to also pass one of these. Well, what if I've only passed T-shoot? Well, if you have only passed T-shoot, you have a Cisco certified specialist in this because they're saying you've passed that one exam. If you want the CCNP Enterprise, you'd have to pass the core. So you can check the boxes for things you've passed, and that will tell you what you need to do whatever's next. But it will also tell you what's going to be recognized. Now, just a second ago, I said that anything that you currently hold, anything you're currently in progress toward will be recognized. And I said mostly. Here's actually an example of that. What if I have only passed route? If you have only passed route or have only passed switch, it actually doesn't get you anything. You have to have passed both route and switch to have that the core. You have to have passed the T-shoot, that one specialization, or all 3 to get the CCNP. So there are a few exceptions. What I encourage you to do is go to that next live, go find the new certification track for your discipline, go find the migration tool, check the boxes for what you have, and that will tell you what you need to do. Everybody's case is going to be a little different. I can just see the chat lighting up, Allie, right? All right. So recertifying. Starting February 24th, any currently held certification is good for a total of 3 years. Now, I'm a good example of this. It's 3 years as of the date of that recertification. I need to recert my CCIE October of this year. So if I finish that, and I plan to, then as of February 24th, my CCIE is 3 total years from October. Not 3 years from February 24th, but 3 years from October. Where the CCIE used to have to be recerted every 2 years, it's now 3. Everything's 3. So if you have one of the certifications that expires every 2 years, as of February 24th, that is extended by 1 year. That's the total. So total of 3 years. That means everything recerts in 3 years. Cisco's trying to make that a little more standardized. You can recertify via exam or by earning points. I was at Cisco Live the other week, and I attended a bunch of sessions, and I have a certain number of points because of the sessions I attended towards continuing education. You can author content either on the Cisco Learning Network or you have to arrange for that, but if you author certain content, you get points for that. Completing online training courses, completing instructor-led training courses. Oh, author content also, like I also occasionally will submit questions for exams, right? That's authoring content, just as some other examples. Continuing education is available for all levels of certification. To recert a CCNA, you have to have a total of 30 points. You can gain those points by, again, Cisco Live, online courses, instructor-led training. Specialist is 40. I will tell you from experience that a standard 5-day, right, ILT class, led training class is worth 40 points. So if you are a specialist taking any course in any discipline, any 5-day course in any discipline will research that. If you are a CCNP, you need to take 2 5-day courses, or my Cisco Live attendance got me, I think, 21 total points, right? So there's different ways that you can research. There's a whole page on the next level website that Cisco has that has information about different ways that you can earn points. Effectively, it depends on what level you are and how you want to research. You don't have to do the points thing, but if that works for you, because there's a lady here, she's actually Juniper certified. She's got like, Allie, 4 or 5 JNCIEs. She's just super smart. Has terrible test anxiety. When she walks into a test, she just freezes up. She usually has to take these things like 2 and 3 times, even though she knows exactly what she's doing. She doesn't like exams. She would be able to research using continuing education. It has to be a class you've not taken before, so you can't keep taking route kind of thing. But as long as you're learning new things, Cisco wants to recognize that. There is no administrative fee for that. Currently, with the CCIE research, you have to pay, I think it's $80 or something like that to research your CCIE through continuing education. They're doing away with that as of before as well. So that is what I have from a presentation standpoint. Allie, what questions do we have?
Yes, thank you. I think I have a few more here. Some people have been answering questions for each other, which is awesome. Thank you. Let's see.
Doesn't hurt to go through them too. We'll post the chat Q&A, and I'll answer as many questions as I can also along with this video, which will be up on our website. Go ahead, Allie. Sorry.
I was going to say that was actually one question. An administrative question is, are we able to provide these slides to our attendees?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It seems like people definitely want clarification on the recertifying and the translation between what they have and what that will be. So with that, another question is, I have my CCNP route switch and my CCNP security. Would that be converted to CCNP enterprise and CCNP security?
No. Oh, yes. Yes, it would. I'm sorry. Yeah, because if you currently hold the entire CCNP route switch, that is a CCNP enterprise, period. If you currently hold the CCNP security, you've passed all those exams, you are blessed by Cisco, you have a CCNP security under the new system. So yes, you will still have 2 CCNPs. Now, if I have a CCNP route switch and a CCNP wireless, right, because wireless and route switch and design are all being combined in the enterprise, you have CCNP enterprise, but you have several specializations in there. You have not just 2 exams you've passed. You can say, I've got the CCNP, and by the way, I also have this and this and this on your CV.
Thank you. I believe that is, as far as the chat goes, the last question I have. But if anybody would like to unmute and ask a question, if they feel like it needs a little more than just the chat, go ahead. But while you're doing that, I'm going to post something in the chat myself for those who, because I don't
Oops,
recognize
that's
a
not what I meant to do.
few. That's okay. I don't recognize a few of you, and I know we have some partners in here as well, and some current Next Live 365 students. But if you are someone who is kind of midway in the process and concerned about finishing up where you left off before all the changes, let's say, because it seems like some of the questions that there are definitely concerns there. Luckily, there's plenty of time to do that. I wanted to provide a tour of our Next Live 365 solution, which includes mentoring, discussion boards, video reference library, obviously, of course, instructor-led training, but let's say you just need that little last nudge to get prepared for passing those certifications before the changes, let's say. Take a look at that link that I just sent. That provides a free complimentary, please just join, just like this, tour of those resources that we have to continue your training and certification objectives before these changes happen. So that will be tomorrow, I believe. That's 3 o'clock Eastern time.
And I also posted a couple of links, one to the CCNP, or the new certification. They had a presentation at Cisco Live about this, and I've posted a link to that. I've also posted a link to the next level. So, Allie, are you demoing that? Did I hear you say you're demoing that now, or you're just saying, hey, we're going to do a demo tomorrow?
So I do a demo of the community for anyone.
That's tomorrow?
Tomorrow, yes.
Okay.
At 3 o'clock. Thank you, yes.
Yeah.
Great links, thank you so much. I do believe.
Let me take a quick peek through the chat as well.
Sure, there is a question that was sent to everybody about the DevNet certifications, if you're able to answer that one.
I will do my best on that one. I am not an expert on the DevNet here. Go ahead.
Does the DevNet certification exam do the DevNet certification exams recertify the other Cisco certifications that I may have?
I don't know. Honestly, okay. Now that I think, I'm not 100% sure on that. I believe so, but let me check on that. Yeah.
Great. No, I'm not sure if we mentioned this in the beginning too, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but we mentioned this in the sort of write-up of this webinar. We obviously have just as much information as we were provided, but more information will of course be released, and we will be doing these webinars. Probably, I think this is a good time at the end of the month. So as things come in for July, of course, there will be more information, questions maybe, and answers more around the DevNet content. We will be providing those in follow-up webinars, hence why this was called a series. So just putting that out there.
I do see a question in the chat about, I recertified my CCIE in November 2018. The expiration is currently marked as November 2020. Yes, as of February 24th, it is now November 2021. So yes, you get that 3-year certification thing. And another question I saw is, do I have to take training in order to take an exam? No, which also means you don't have to take training to recertify. You can take an exam without taking training, and that does, recertify your stuff. Or you can go the continuing education method, whatever works for you. All right, I don't see all of the chats. I will take all of the questions in chat. I will organize them into sort of categories, and I will answer them. And like I said, we'll post that document along with the presentation here.
Thanks. May I ask one more that just came in, if possible?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Marin. I am CCNP Route and Switch certified. I do hope to attempt my CCIE routing and switching sometime in March next year.
Hoorah.
Do I need to do the written exam?
Yes. No. Yes. You'll have to have passed either the current CCIE route switch written or take the technology core after the 24th.
So your suggestion would be perhaps not in March?
I would, to take the CCIE written, or I mean the CCIE lab?
By the tone of the question, it sounds like, Matthew, you do not want to take it. That's why I'm saying that.
No, it is. Passing those CCIE writtens is not a simple thing. Yeah. You know, honest to gosh, I'm not 100% sure on that one either. That is my understanding, because I remember somebody asking that question, and that's the answer they got, and there was lots of grumbling about that. But let me look into that for you. If you don't mind sending your email to Allie and Chad, I will look at that specific question back to you on that. Alrighty, and then and I'll answer the information in sort of in general in the chat that we post. Gosh, that's 3 questions I got to go look up.
It means you guys are asking great questions.
It's, you know, and part of the reason too, let me just say this too, is Cisco is not 100% done developing this new system. They have a concept, they have a lot of the pieces in place, but some of these finer points they don't have yet. And one of the questions that the partners had when we did the session last week was, well, what happens to the certified instructors? Like, how do we get certified on these new courses? And that was, they're like, no, we don't really know yet. So everything is not 100% finished. So that's part of the reason we don't necessarily know the answers to this, is because I don't know if, you know, your particular situation there is one of the ones that's been thought about yet.